See, this the funny thing about the new YouTube update, though, is I'm ready. I just can't wait to see what the chat has to say. I mean, it says we're live. Let's just sit the first minute and just eat the croissant. It says it's still waiting for me.
Oh, there we go. We're live.
Good. I got a croissant, everybody. I finally got my croissant. There's everyone's like. I think it has a little bit of a little bit of a delay, so I'm seeing everyone freaking out about it right now.
Yeah.
Yep. There's croissant in the chat.
It's a good.
It's the sound of the crust. There we go. I love it.
It's a good croissant. I'm telling you what. It's a pretty good one. It's like nice and buttery and just good. All right, I probably should roll the intro.
Did you bring enough for the rest of us?
Nope. I just brought tons for me.
All right, let's shut up about the croissant. I'm hungry.
All right, let's get this thing rolling.
Green flag, green flag. I'll roll. He's flipping me out. Ah! Yeah, boys, have that back. They touch. Watch it in the wall. He threw it off the track. Baby, that's how you do it. Get that second flag, son. Yeah, baby, yeah. Oh, yeah. Green flag, I'll roll.
I accidentally started it again. Professionalism, baby. Anyway, welcome everybody to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Great way to start off. Thank you all with all the croissants in the chat. And thank you, Jimbo Burrito, for the $2 super chat already. And I took a bite. I made a deal, and I told all of them I will take a bite out of croissant for every super chat I get that has croissant or croissant in it. So just letting you all know now. Like I said, I got the platter.
That can be any variation. If they ask a serious question but just have the emoji in there, you will do it, right?
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm down with that. What would this be? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 6.5 croissants left, so we got enough. But yeah, so
let's get this show going and see how much carbs people make you eat tonight.
And by the way, for everyone that's asking in the chat, David can hear us and he can talk. David, let everyone know you're alive.
Yeah, hi, I'm alive. I was looking up YouTube videos on how to use a DSLR with a Zoom meeting right before we came on. I have not found a successful combination, so I may be I'm faceless, but I'm just a disconnected voice. But you should definitely pay Jarrett, because we need to see some serious croissant eating on this. I want to see that entire plate of croissants gone by the end of the video of the stream.
David had no idea what he was getting himself into when he agreed to be on the show weeks ago. He had no idea.
I'm trying to watch what I eat, and I'm gonna just shovel in.
We need to fatten him up. 20 pounds.
Yeah. Oh crap. OBS went off for a second there. But let's get into it. So we had Texas just now. What did y'all think about it?
That's it. No more fanfare than just what'd you think about it. It was good. It was.
We waited long enough.
Yeah.
GN, really quick for a start. GN with $4.99 super chat says the Texas rain delays felt like Groundhog Day, the movie. At least we got a veteran break his winless streak. Croissant.
Yep.
There you go. I saw 2 croissant emojis, and I think that's 2 bites. No, okay. No, we'll start off slow.
Oh, there you go again.
Andrew Meyer, thank you for the $5 super chat, says this was one of Kyle Busch's most impressive victories in my humble opinion. I never thought that I would see another fuel mileage race with the stage racing. Croissant.
We've had a few go down to the wire even this year, I feel like. But
I'll be honest, I didn't know, because we were at dinner when this race was finishing up, so we had the race like on my phone muted, so we weren't really listening to the race. So we didn't know what the conversation was, and all of a sudden it looked like Clint Boyer was leading and actually extending his lead. So we're like, is Clint Boyer about to get a last win? But then Claudia kept looking at me, she's like, they're either trying to bank on a caution coming out, trying to get him a win, or just letting him enjoy the moment for one of his last few races. But deep down, I was hoping that I knew nothing and he was somehow going to win.
They said on the broadcast that perhaps the team was having an issue filling the car full of fuel because it was 2 straight runs where he seemed to be significantly, like, wasn't able to stretch it as far as the rest of the field. So I think it might have been some mechanical thing there. But if we want to get into Texas, I want to start as this is like the first time in months that I was the guy on the podcast that was actually at the race, at least the start of the race. How about that one? They said on the broadcast, the last time a race was like delayed this long, it was like 1973 or something like that. And so this was a historic week. I mean, as someone who was there Sunday, I can attest to the fact that it was awkwardly misting pretty much the entire afternoon and evening. And I guess it never let up until today, like this morning, apparently. So credit to the entire, Jet Dryer, Air Titan crew, everyone at Texas Motor Speedway who was able to work basically 72 hours straight to get the track in a decent condition to race. I thought the race today was okay for a Texas race and also okay for a Texas race with this rules package.
Sorry, Eric, didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah, we got a few super chats here. Bros Boss with 499 says, I recommend you watch Aravara, F1 YouTuber, play NASCAR E5 for the first time. Yes, I will watch that. We all know my thoughts on that game. Nicholas Gray, thanks for the $2 croissant. Worth it. Holy Jesus!
That's what I was talking about.
Corvette Racing 48, thanks for the $25. Leaves 3 croissants in the front. Says congrats to KFB on his 57th career win, and here's a bunch of croissants. And he leaves 6 more. I'm only gonna eat.
That's at least
super chat.
I don't know. That's worth at least $2, man.
We got 505 people watching. We can't keep pushing this. And then I think Nicholas just left another croissant.
Yep. So there you go. I told you there's gonna be that guy. Break it up.
Keep going.
Golly, think about it like this: what all did you guys do from the drop of the green flag in this race to the finish? Let's see. I went to trunk or treat at church. I was dressed as Mickey Mouse. I went on an anniversary dinner with my wife, Claudia.
Happy anniversary, by the way.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
I flew to Chicago. I flew from Chicago to Philadelphia. I rented a Jeep in Philadelphia. I've been to New York City. I've been to Massachusetts. I've drove from Massachusetts to Vermont. And now I'm in New Hampshire. That's what I've done from the drop of the green flag at Texas to the finish.
Oh, you got me beat. I went to an IndyCar race, flew back. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, I drove from the track to home and then never drove back, unfortunately. So I think you've got all of us beat as far as miles and
we've still done quite a few things. You've made a few out of the groove videos, David.
Yeah, been busy passing the time. Days have gotten up, slept, eaten some breakfast every day. I don't know, put my pants on one leg at a time like everybody else. But yeah, it's been a weird series of events for sure, especially after last night. It looked like they were going to get the race maybe back green. They seemed very hopeful late in the afternoon, early evening yesterday, and then it ultimately fell apart. A lot of those peaks and valleys of, oh, no, get my heart broken time and time again. Speaking of getting my heart broken, I want to get this out of the way before anyone brings it up later and blindsides me with it. Matt Kenseth should not have come back this year. I wish and also when they announced Ross Chastain to the 42 car for next year, they should have immediately right then swapped Kenseth out with Chastain. I don't know why Matt's still in the car, but I apologize to the Bubba Wallace fans. I don't know what my boy's doing out there this year. These cars obviously different than anything he's ever driven, but he's driven over his head 3 or 4 times this year. I've not seen that from Matt Kenseth this year. So yeah, just want to get that out of the way.
Yeah, I watched that, and I think was it Justin Champagne left on Twitter. He's like, "Yeah, watch some idiot come back and like crash on the first lap back," and he crashed.
It was like
right
the third lap.
Well, but it's funny. He crashed right into Justin's favorite driver. I'm sorry. I live off of chaos. I love it.
That makes me think of something. I can't remember who it was on Twitter this week. Someone said, watch all of us wait 3 days just for Kyle Busch to win. And it happened.
Well, I mean, I was happy to see at least a little strategy coming to the end of it, but it was with this configuration of Texas, the best I think you're going to get it is a 4 out of 10 race. There goes the croissants coming back up. But I don't know, man. It was pain, and the thing I think it made it more painful is just the NBC broadcast. It wasn't bad. It was just plain, you know. I think that was something that made it a little worse for Ware to watch. I wasn't crazy about how they every time there was a pass made, it was used to basically like defend the package from the fans who were mad about last week's finish. Like I think like Truex got past Blaney at one point. And then it's like, that right there shows just how much talent Joey Logano had last week. And it's like, no, bro. No, it didn't. It's just, it's early in the run, and they weren't racing as hard as the end of the race. But it was not anything special. It wasn't worth the wait, in my opinion. I'm glad that Kyle Busch, in a way, broke his winless streak, just because I love seeing the meltdown on Twitter afterwards. But even I couldn't even get that because everyone's happy for him now. So
it's got to be such an awkward place for everyone at JGR, because the entire time you're like, okay, it'd be great for Truex to win and get himself in a championship 4, but if he does that, then Denny and Keselowski are separated by just 2 for the final transfer spot. And if Kyle Busch wins, Denny is still pretty well good. Truex that can't make it. And yeah, Kyle Busch finally wins.
Well, that's kind of the conundrum Christopher Bell found himself in. Those 2 drivers are going to be your teammates next year, and you're not driving for Gibbs currently, but you will be. So you better not screw up either of their chances to win.
I noticed he never drove it in that hard into 1 and 2. A couple times I thought he could have got next to Truex if he really pushed it, and he seemed to not be pushing it that hard. So I think he was playing it really safe. I actually kind of disagree with Jared. I don't think this race was that bad. People in the chat saying like 4 out of 10. I thought this was a pretty solid race. And I think because it came down to the racing was not great. Obviously it's Texas and it's this rules package, and one groove track with this package is not going to be great. But I thought ultimately the intrigue at the end, the storylines where you have Kyle Busch, a guy who you could see afterwards, he said afterwards this was as nervous as he was racing for a championship last year. This is just a random, basically meaningless race at Texas. Like the storyline of him trying to extend his win streak, the storyline of Truex possibly blowing up the playoff grid, like you said, Danny, if he had gotten the win, the fuel, of course, being called into question, and then Christopher Bell in a small Texas team's last race at Texas, looking for his first career win, the team's first win, knocking on the door, threatening there, like. I was heavily invested in this race in the final 50 or 60 laps, and I thought the way it got there, between the massive crash between Matt Kenseth and Bubba Wallace, added some spectacle to it for people who want to see those types of things. I thought, seeing guys like Clint Boyer, Austin Dillon, Ryan Blaney up in the top 5, Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin struggling at 1.5 miles for the first time all year long. So we had some parity up there. I thought all that actually was decent, and it's something that there's a reason coming into this round. I actually thought Texas might be a bigger wild card than Martinsville, because with the fact that tires don't really wear, but it's still a very treacherous racetrack, because if you slip out of that groove, you're toast, like Harvick found Sunday before the rain hit, or as the rain hit, I guess. And it kind of delivered on that part. I mean, early on they mentioned it on the broadcast, at the end of stage 1 there were only 2, I guess 3 technically playoff drivers getting stage points. So there was a lot of parity in the field. Racing was not fantastic, not great racing particularly, but the storylines were there. So I was at least invested in this race, and so I'd give it a little bit more positive score. Not a 4. I'd give it like a 6 or a 7 personally.
I'll give you this. It was better than the last, I'd say maybe 2 years in the fall Texas race. I think it was just the weight
2018
overall.
was terrible.
Yeah, 2018 for sure. I didn't really like last year's.
I don't really remember last year's. I don't really remember it, so it was probably better than that.
That's my problem with the new layout at Texas. There's no races. Like, I think the only race anyone remembers is Jimmie Johnson winning, and the only reason they remember that one is because, well, and then last year's being horrible. They remember that, of course. But I think it was just.
I think it's still going to be hard for me to. I think it'll be hard for me to forget Austin Dillon and Tyler Reddick coming in 1-2. That was actually a decent one.
I know I'm excited for the All-Star race at this track next year.
If they go crazy,
you couldn't say that. Okay, be glad you don't have a working camera, because we all know you didn't say it with a straight face.
No, I didn't.
If they go crazy with it next year, like you could, maybe there's like, if they just do a one-off package the way they did with the All-Star race last year, I could see it being fun, I guess. But they just go all out with it. I mean, it's the last year of this car. You're not going to use any of the stuff really you have anymore.
Think about it, guys. We might get the nostrils back.
People have been saying they should run the quarter-mile track on the infield.
Do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't run the Roval. That's my thing. I don't like the idea, and I don't like this for the Clash next year, of running a giant road course, especially like Daytona, but even with Texas, a big road course with only like 20 cars. I don't like that idea. If they get too, I think they get too spread out, and I think you need more cars out there for the calamity that NASCAR wants with it. But
I don't think Texas's Roval should ever be used. It's just not. It's not great for the fans because all the action happens on the back stretch. At Charlotte, the Roval, you see it. It's all in the front stretch. It's everywhere. Like fans from the stands can see it. The Texas Roval will only be good for people watching on TV, maybe. So I think they should never use it.
There was a few super chats left, and we got, for the 630 people watching right now, just letting you know, the Johnson interview is still happening. It's at the second half of the show. Trust me, it's worth it. I've got a little surprise for you, wink, wink, in the second half.
I don't even know what the surprise is.
Some quality editing by Danny B.
Oh yeah. Danny should get the props on this one for sure. So let's see. Let's get a few of these super chats here. It's funny, if the studio will update, it's not updating on us. But Ethan Kane 499 says, I believe JJ's last Texas win was the last race before the repay. No, I thought it was the first race of the repay, but I could be wrong.
I'll check.
The repay was in 2017, so
did he win the April race that year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was his second to last.
That
to last win.
That was the third to last win. It was the first of 3 wins he had in 2017.
Yeah.
And I apologize for people who love,
which is crazy because he came off like on fire.
But I apologize.
He came off on fire in 2017.
I apologize for people who have left super chats. I keep eating them every time you say croissant. I'm just eating it just as I see it. I haven't been able to read some of them just because they disappear on the studio and it hasn't updated fully yet. Thank you, the Dank Gamer, Heat Gamer, for the $1 super chat. Arian, Arian Gomez says, thought the race was decent and amusing to watch. Kyle drove like the champion he is, with that winning drive today. I like Brad's chances to advance to Phoenix. And then Kyle Kieskin says, for $14.99, says, let's race the All-Star race backwards. And the Dank Heat Gamer says, with $5, I think Dogecoin and GameStop had the best paint schemes. Okay, well,
I'll agree on the GameStop. The Dogecoin, not sure, but I'll agree on the GameStop.
Some of them are good. Some of them are, yeah.
But
I think I like just the plain GameStop. Not really when they did special ones. I just like the plain GameStop car.
Yeah, well, here's the hard part about, because does anyone have anything else to say about Texas before we move on to the second half of the Texas?
Honestly, I think we pretty much said all we can about the Texas Cup race, but I do want to talk about the Texas truck race. That one was where the storylines were. So Eric, you were there. Tell us what you saw.
Yeah, so, Ben Rhodes lost his mind at the first incident where he kind of got into Todd Gillen. He sort of crowded him on entry. Some people, I thought it was just him just misjudging and just turning way too early. He was being aggressive and just misjudging and wrecked Gillen. Other people were just saying it was a race, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, okay, I'll let that one slide. But then him hooking Christian Eckes into the front stretch dogleg wall, that was obviously a dirty move. He should have been parked for it. I'm surprised he wasn't. I'm surprised NASCAR's not going to penalize him in any way, shape, or form. I think you're only inviting something really wild to happen in Martinsville, which I'm sure is what NASCAR wants, to boost those truck ratings. And then I didn't even see what happened at the end. He got into Josh Bilicki and pissed him off, apparently. Either way, Ben Rhodes was an absolute madman. And I had Jordan Anderson on the show the other day, and I asked him before we went live. I said, "Is it okay if I ask about like Ben Rhodes?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll talk about Ben Rhodes." It was a little messy, so it was a rough go of it for one of the truck playoff guys there.
Well, I'm not as surprised that NASCAR didn't penalize him, and mostly because if it's true that the 51 was the reason that if the 51 got contact with the 99. And then that's what got him into Bilicki. I don't think there was enough footage to really back up that claim, but Rhodes sure sounded like that's what happened in his interview. If that's the case, I think NASCAR kind of saw that as the situation was resolved by the teammate.
The penalty was for wrecking Eckes. That's what the penalty should have been for, because he just turned left on him going.
Yeah, but I'm saying like that was one of the only cases where I think NASCAR truly let drivers police themselves.
I don't like on a fast track like that turning someone on the straightaway straight into the wall, especially a dog like that.
It wasn't good. Yeah, like what Rhodes did was worse than what 51 did, I think. But 51 just tried to move him out of the way.
Yeah, you got to be careful with the retaliation on super speedways. It's asking for trouble. I mean, at a place like Martinsville, like it makes sense. Like it's going to happen, as they say, it's short track racing. But yeah, Texas, I agree with you guys. I think that crossed the line. I will tell you this though, the one thing that I really appreciated. Shout out to the NASCAR social media team for posting that double bird photo uncensored. You madmen. It's great. Fantastic. Great stuff.
I'll tell you what, their social media has turned it up this year, like a ton. Their YouTube channel has gotten really good and more in depth. Their TikTok is hilarious. Like the people who run that deserve a raise.
Well, it's because no offense to people who've done it in the past, but they're finally hiring people who are actually NASCAR fans.
And then, yeah, they've come a long way since the mess up with the Golden Gate Bridge last year, or was it earlier this year? I don't know. Anything basically before the pandemic feels like 100 years ago.
Can I talk about one thing?
Yeah,
remember how at the beginning of the playoffs they had, who was that famous actor they had do something?
Mario Lopez?
God.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they had Mario Lopez do something, and that was supposed to be one of 5 times they did it. They never did that again. Did you notice that?
One other. I can't.
If they did, they didn't promote it like the other one.
Yeah,
so
I think the first one.
I think they realized real quick that was not a good idea.
Real quick, Ross Boss, thanks for $4.99, says, do you think the choose rule will stay for 21? I think it will, and I surprisingly actually like it. I didn't think I would. And then the Danky Gamer said for $2 says, why don't you like Dogecoin, Danny?
I just didn't like it's an okay car. It's not one of the best ones I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a fun little meme before memes were a thing. What year was that? That was like in the early days.
2014, 2015.
Never mind, that was newer than more recent than I thought. It was like 2011 for some reason. Okay,
well, I just think it's always funny. Like that was organized by people who have read it, and then now like the people who run NASCAR Reddit are like that was a mistake. We should have never done that. But that's my take on it.
What? They said. Hold on a second. I'm the biggest NASCAR Reddit.
It's one of those things that like what I saw my brief time on Reddit is like I saw someone saying like that was why we will never do like a crowdfunding thing again, or something like that. I don't know.
That's like one of the more iconic cars. It was for a back marker too.
I don't know. Maybe it was too much drama behind the scenes. I don't know about it, but I swear I saw someone saying like we're not ever going to do that again. So
did they get Josh Wise voted into the All-Star race?
That I think they're fine, but I think it's like crowdfunding a ridiculous sponsor like that. I don't think they want to do that again.
I like what NASCAR All Out says in the chat. I love the classic full race replays on their channel. I do too. But really quick, going back to Texas, do we want to? I mean, we're not going to have the numbers we usually have, but y'all want to kind of jump into the poll really quick and see what people are saying?
Definitely.
So I put the poll out, let's see, an hour and a half ago. So we only have 1.3 thousand votes. So not anywhere near what we normally do. I gotta write them down because I usually keep track. But so 14% of you thought this was a great race. 47% of you thought it was a good race. 25% said average, 5% said below average, and 8% of you thought that this was a bad race. So that's a net positivity, I believe, of 61% and a net negativity of 13%. So I don't know how that stacks up with the other ones just because this is so close to the finish of the race. But let's see what some people said since we already have 156 comments. Jesus Christ. Of course, Michael's twin brother is the first comment. Says it's the Kyle and Kyle show today. One Kyle signed with Hendrick, and the other Kyle won. And we'll talk about the Hendrick signing a little later in the show. Let's see. NASCAR fan 93-100 says how appropriate the zombie car wins, considering that everyone probably felt like zombies for the last few days.
That's what you say. He pointed to the design on his helmet, which was I didn't really like the paint scheme. I'll be honest, it just looked flat. But I thought his helmet design with the actual
helmet was really cool. And they are selling tickets for $18 a piece to benefit Kyle and Samantha's fundraiser in order to win that, I think. Or not the fundraiser, but the charity.
Let's see what else we got here. LIV says Kyle Busch wins 2020. Impossible.
Oh,
All
we
fans.
lost David.
Impossible. Well, they're still going through inspection right now, aren't they?
They could, and I the Truex, they confiscated that spoiler. You never know if the Gibbs cars might get smacked for something.
Well, I'm gonna laugh, especially if I hope Dalton is in the chat right now, and if that happens, I want to see his meltdown live in the chat.
Oh, actually, 1 minute ago, NASCAR tweeted, or they all tweeted that there's no post race issues, so Busch is the winner.
Sorry,
1 minute
Dalton.
ago.
I love. See, the story I told after the Bristol night race is that when Joey Logano held up Kyle Busch and it cost him the win, basically. I trolled the hell out of Dalton after the race because he was there and I was like chanting for Logano just to mess with him. Let's see what else we got. A few more comments here and then we'll go and do like our poll for the last comment. JP, Kyle Busch, it's still 2020. Chase Elliott, Uno reverse card. Let's see what else we got. Deathstormer14 says, overall, a decent race. What really bothered me was when MTJ was saying on the radio that he needed draft help to catch Kyle. The draft shouldn't be that valuable at a track like Texas, especially considering they were full throttle most of the time. Let's see.
I'm not going to say that you can't pass at this track because I did say Truex passed Ryan Blaney clearly for the lead, like cleanly. But I'm not going to say that's necessarily the case like it was at Kansas for this one.
Let's see a few more comments and we'll get to that last one. Blue Jimmy 48 fan says, I think my new profile pic is perfectly sums up my emotion. Sort of like a smile an angry smile for an angry bird. Let's see what else we got. I'll scroll way down because I usually don't get these bottom ones very much. Oh, we got someone that's really happy at Kyle Busch won. Says, let's go Kyle Busch won. Travis Carpenter. Let's see. Motorsports Fan 17 says, so Kyle Busch finally gets a win in one of the longest wait periods in the history of the Cup Series. I must say, really good run for Busch tonight. Let's go down to the last one. I'll ask the three of you, do you think that the last comment is positive or negative?
Let's hear that name.
Daniel Knutson.
Oh, I know him. That's positive.
I'm going to say negative because Kyle Busch won, and people are usually negative with those first comments.
I'm also going to go negative just because it's me.
At least you're self-aware. So it is negative. He says,
yes!
I'm surprised.
Terrible winner, terrible package, terrible race, and the ratio is immense.
Oh, wait, I forgot. Yeah,
oh, wow.
I forgot. Yeah, he doesn't like Kyle Busch. Forgot about that.
He has 2 likes and 11
I know your clientele.
Yeah,
oh,
he's
man,
2 likes
ratioed
and
on
11
YouTube.
comments.
How sad.
There's like comments like salty, yep, can 2020 end? Mother Nature was really sad, so she rained on Fort Worth for 3 days. This is what I made a joke on Twitter. I'm like, the racing gods are punishing us for complaining about the package for a full week. But yeah,
maybe this is all time. We had to have 3 days of rain in Texas, and Kyle Busch wins. Nature is healing. We're getting back to normal.
Or it's a racing god's way of saying, screw you guys, I'm going to make it worse for you.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. Like everybody's complaining about one Kyle Busch win this year, but it comes under the worst circumstances in some respects.
So I just want to let the 700 now people who are watching that if you want me, I'm going to remind people like every half hour of this. If you want me to eat from this platter of croissants, just leave croissant in your super chat, and I will take a bite every time someone leaves it in that. So we got plenty to talk about. Why don't we go into the really big? Well, actually, we should probably go into the playoff picture right now, and then go into the really big story from this morning, basically. So we know Logano is good to go, but do you want me to just read off 2nd through 8th now?
Sure.
Okay. Harvick is plus 42, Hamlin plus 27, Keselowski plus 25, Alex Bowman minus 25. He's tied with Chase Elliott. Truex minus 36, and Kurt Busch minus 81. He's going to need a miracle. So what do you guys think about what way it's shaping up? I mean, right now, if the Final Four ends up being what it is now, I think those are the 4 best drivers all year, in my opinion.
I think I'm going to be interested in the battle between Hamlin and Keselowski next week. It's obviously the close one. They're only separated by 2 points now. And spoiler alert for my picks, I really like Truex's chances of winning 3 in a row here, but that's going to be the biggest thing I'm watching out for Martinsville. 'Cause I feel like Truex is going to come to play. He has to win, and it's going to be close between Hamlin and Keselowski for a final spot. Other than that, I don't think the other guys have a chance for it.
Yeah, I think I mostly agree with you there. I do think Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman, kind of a long shot. They're basically in must-win scenarios. I do think Martin Truex Jr. is going to be one of the favorites. He's probably going to be a popular pick to win this race. Chase Elliott has run well at Martinsville as well in his career, so I wouldn't rule him out either. I think you're right, Dan. I think a lot of the drama is going to be watching Hamlin and Keselowski battle to not be fourth on the grid in the event that Truex or Elliott does swoop in and steal a victory, or somebody else.
Yeah.
I won't completely write off Bowman or Kurt Busch. You never know. Martinsville's a driver's track, so in the case of like Kurt Busch, he might be able to overcome possibly some of the lack of Ganassi speed in some ways. So, but yeah, I definitely think, Truex is going to be a good pick. That's going to be fun to watch. I was impressed with his speed tonight. I feel like that team hasn't been as great on the 1.5 miles this year, but maybe this is good momentum rolling into Martinsville where it's a completely different car and package. So I don't know. It's all bets are off, but I do think everyone's in a must-win scenario that's below the top 4.
I'm leaning towards the idea that the 4 that we see in right now will not be the same 4 that make it. I just don't know in what order it's going to be.
I guess since I won't be on the podcast when it's all decided, I think the most compelling thing about the Final 4 will be, especially at Phoenix, it's going to be Harvick versus the world, I think. It's going to be the question of, can someone beat Kevin Harvick at a track that he is so very good at? And they're going to be bringing their A game to that race. So I think if you look in that bottom part, the guys trying to break in, I think you look at an Elliott or a Truex, if they can get in, I think they've got a very good chance of threatening Harvick. And but man, it's going to be tough. I think that's going to. It's kind of like the old scenario we used to say about Kyle Larson. If he could just get to Homestead, he's going to win the championship almost guaranteed. I wonder if that's going to be similar here with Kevin Harvick at Phoenix.
Yeah, I think his biggest threat are the Penske guys. I think Logano winning at Kansas is adds one other, kind of danger for him at Phoenix, just because of how good, I think Logano won Phoenix earlier in the year.
Yep.
And Keselowski's run really well with the 750 horsepower package. I think it is going to be Harvick. I think it's going to be Harvick versus Penske. You say Harvick versus the world. I think it's going to be more Harvick versus Penske. And the real scary part is if Penske gets both their cars in the championship four, that's going to be a lot of obstacles for Kevin Harvick to dodge. I mean, no disrespect to Denny Hamlin. He's had a great season, but I don't think anyone at this point would pick Hamlin to win Phoenix if he sneaks into the championship four at this rate. So I do think if you're Harvick, you're hoping Keselowski blows up at Martinsville and your only Penske threat is Logano. Because if it's just Logano, I think Harvick can take him. But if you get two Penske guys, I mean, I don't know. That's a lot of fast forwards that may be faster than his Ford.
Well, here's the alternative to that scenario. It is the team play. If you only have one Penske car in there, you've got three potential jam cars for Harvick to deal with. If there's two Penske cars racing each other for the championship, you may not have them playing as nicely with each other and less focus on trying to keep Harvick from winning the race. I don't know. We'll have to see.
That's possible, yeah.
Here's something else we got to consider here, and I can't remember the exact circumstances of why he finished in this place. Hamlin finished in the spring 24th, 3 laps down.
He was just slow. That was just the race where he was a lap down before they even got to the competition.
Yeah, so if they bring a similar setup, like that's not good for them because, I mean, yeah, they got a 27-point cushion to Bowman. See, he got 6th place last time. I mean, if something goes wrong for Hamlin, he's not safe by any means. But I think he's got a better shot at being okay. I don't see him messing up 2 times this year, but you never know.
Just looking at the super chats and how many croissants I've had to eat.
How many have you ate at this point?
1.5. Yeah, we'll just move on past that. But no, I the way I'm looking at it right now, like I said before, I think we obviously know Logano is going to make it. I think Harvick's in a good spot, even if Bowman through Kurt Busch gets the win. It's going to be really interesting, though, in my opinion, if Bowman, Chase, or Truex or Kurt Busch gets that win, just to see I mean, there's 2 points right now between Hamlin and Keselowski. And then before the show, we talked about, Danny, you'd said that, if Keselowski falls out, then it's up for the taking for, or Hamlin falls out, it's up for the taking for Bowman, Elliott, and Truex. Because I think one of them will finish with enough points.
If either one of them brings just a trash car and is in the 30s for some reason, like it's open for someone.
Really quickly into super chats. Food King, good rate. Food King, I'm gonna call you that because you got a long name. 499 says not much to say. Love all your channels. Just so excited that KFB and Adam Stevens are for KFB and Adam Stevens, which I really think they should stay together next year.
Wow, Food King, and he didn't say anything about a croissant.
I haven't read the second one yet.
Oh.
Well, I want to say I agree. I do think this race should put to rest any of the rumors that they should split those two up. I think Adam Stevens, he's been the best crew chief for Kyle Busch since he's joined up with them. I think they've had an off year. I wouldn't break it up just yet.
Nicholas Gray with the $5 super chat says Hurricane Zeta finished passing us. Everyone's safe. But those last 60 laps were stressful. But I'm a happy Rowdy and Truex fan right now. Croissant up.
Glad everyone's safe.
Yeah, that's good. I didn't realize they're in the Greek alphabet now for hurricanes right now. So stay safe, everybody.
Wow.
Yeah, they were already through Zeta.
Yeah, they're a good way through the Greek alphabet.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone have anything else? Their picks? I think got picks. We can just pick our final four too while we're thinking about it. Thanks, Food King, for the croissant.
Just putting it out there. No one's missed Jimmie. He's coming up a little bit later.
Mm-hmm. Well,
gonna need a graphic on the screen at some point, like countdown to Jimmie.
I'll just count on my fingers. Okay, guys, we are. Well, this is gonna be hard to do. I don't have enough fingers. We'll get there soon. Second half of the show.
Well, before we get to the second half of the show, I think there's a really big story we should probably talk about that has something to do with the team Jimmie runs for. Kyle Larson officially, finally, is signed with Hendrick Motorsports to drive the 5 car next year. Who wants to go first on that one? That's a pretty big story to start off. I mean, we knew it was coming, but the fact that it's finally confirmed is it's huge. If you were to ask someone 5 years ago, do you think you'll see Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott in the same team? They might have said yes, but they wouldn't have expected under these circumstances.
I like the 5 car being back. That's one of Hendrick's more historic numbers. I like the idea that Kyle starts fresh with a new team, new number that we haven't seen since 2017. And kind of like the idea that the 88 goes out in a good way with Bowman giving the number 88 the best run it's had in the NASCAR playoff format that we see today. So kind of a good fitting to send it out good, being remembered by, Dale Jr. and Alex Bowman. And then now he's starting over and then Kyle starting over.
I mean, everybody kind of forgets about that number. It was 88's never really been a traditionally Hendrick number. It was a Robert Yates number for the longest time. I mean, the only reason it really ended up in the Hendrick camp was because Teresa wouldn't allow the 8 to transfer over to Hendrick Motorsports, so they needed the next best thing, which was 2 8s. So some of Junior Nation's tattoos were completely useless at that point.
They were all set to do 81, and then Robert Yates you guys can have it.
Yeah.
Well, here's something
very nice of him to do.
Well, here's something that's actually interesting. I found on all our favorite spots to go on NASCAR Reddit, but it's an interesting fact. The 2021 Daytona 500 will mark the first Cup points race since the 29th race of the 1995 season. The 88 car is not in the field. With 1,753 starts as of writing this, I think it's up. It might be up to 54. They might have counted or not counted Texas. Don't quote me on it. It is the 5th most used number in NASCAR history. So that's going to be really odd. It'll be the first time in my life I've never seen an 88 on the track unless someone naps it up.
What's funny is now this is the first time since I think 2006 that neither Junior Motorsports nor Hendrick Motorsports will be using that number.
Wow. Yeah, damn.
Yeah, interesting. I do like the change to the number 5, just as a kind of fresh branding thing. It makes sense from Hendrick's perspective. You think about it, obviously Kyle Larson. I think a lot of people are very excited that Kyle Larson's back, at least from what I've seen. I think many people are very excited about it, going to Hendrick and everything like that. But they announced today no sponsorship. They didn't announce any sponsors for Larson. I think we're lucky that Hendrick even signed, or Chevy, I'm sorry, even signed off on him driving for Hendrick. So, moving Bowman to the 48 with Ally sponsorship obviously keeps Ally mostly happy. It's really going to be them, Rick Hendrick pulling the strings he can pull to piece together a schedule for Kyle Larson. But like you said, Jared, a few years ago, I wouldn't have said it was likely, but since January, we've known Hendrick was one of the top 2 or 3 landing spots for Larson. I feel like in January it was he might stay with Ganassi, but probably not. He's either going to go to Hendrick or maybe he'll go to Stewart-Haas Racing if Boyer or somebody retires. Those were really the 2 options really from the beginning of this season, and everyone was on either side of the aisle. And none of that really changed after he was suspended. I think that just slowed things down. I'll bet you he's not getting paid as much next year as he would have had the suspension not happened. If suspension doesn't happen, I'm sure Ally would have been happy to sponsor Kyle Larson next season. He'd be raking in the money. He'd have a company car, nice Camaro or Corvette or something from Chevrolet next year. He's probably not going to have any of that because of his suspension. But I'm happy to see Kyle Larson back in the Cup Series. And I pointed this out on Twitter. Hendrick Motorsports in 2021, all 4 of their drivers are going to be under the age of 30 to start the year. And I just think back a few years ago when they had Gordon and Kane and Jr., all their drivers were over the age of like 35 for a couple of years there. And I don't know, Hendrick has changed pretty quickly. It's changed a lot very quickly. But I will say, at least as far as jumping from 2020 to 2021, obviously subbing out Jimmie Johnson, arguably the GOAT, for Kyle Larson doesn't sound like an upgrade on paper, but personally, I think it is. I think if you ask me who's the better driver right now in 2020, I'd go Kyle Larson over Jimmie Johnson pretty easily. So I don't think Hendrick's losing out on talent next year, and I think they've now just increased their longevity because a lot of their chief opponents like Gibbs, their drivers are getting old. Truex is 40. Hamlin's about to turn 40. Kyle Busch is 35 and is coming off his worst season in years. You look at Stewart-Haas, it's the Kevin Harvick show. He's like 42, 43. Their competition's getting old, and Hendrick is getting younger and more talented. So Hendrick Motorsports, I think with this announcement and the Rudy Fugle announcement we'll talk about earlier this week, I think Hendrick has set themselves up really nicely for the next decade or more. So I think a lot of fans are going to be excited about Larson. Some won't be. I'm sure everyone's going to have a different opinion on Kyle Larson without a doubt. But I think it was a smart move from Hendrick Motorsports and definitely a good career move for Kyle Larson. It shows he's really committed to being great in the NASCAR Cup Series. Because Rick Hendrick, he'll let him run some dirt, but he's not going to support it maybe the same way Chip Ganassi will. Larson's showing with this announcement that he's invested in being the greatest NASCAR driver he can be. So I'm excited to see what happens next year.
I think originally I was expecting probably like HendrickCars.com, Chevy Goods to be, I still think they're probably the majority sponsors for Larson, but now I think they might even be the only ones because I think with Hertz having gone away, that's hurting the 24 car a lot, and not sure. Maybe Liberty University will come back. They've got some drama going on their end, but it's going to depend on what the 24 car needs, I think. So I think the 24 is going to get them pretty much all of what I would call the other sponsors that Alex Bowman had this year. And I'd say that Kyle Larson's probably going to get mostly Chevy Goods and TeamHendrickCars.com.
Well, my theory on the sponsors has always been that the way this worked out, pretty much it was the perfect storm this year for Kyle Larson to be in that seat in any way after the suspension. The fact that the 88 car was not even really fully funded this year, that you had that opening with Jimmie Johnson leaving, you could move Bowman into that seat and then have an open car. It's not like the 88 car was going to go away. I think that Rick Hendrick, he's bought a charter and he's not going to lease or sell that charter to one of his competitors. Mm-hmm. And if you have an unsponsored car, who is the best driver on the market that you can just hire and bring in? That's Kyle Larson. So the fact that this all kind of came together in the way that it did, I think is remarkable. And I think all parties involved are eventually going to benefit from this. I think Rick Hendrick has got a driver that, assuming he, of course, stays out of any kind of significant trouble, which I think he will, you're going to have somebody you can build a future around. I think, I remember when Kyle Larson came into NASCAR, everybody was talking about how he was the next Jeff Gordon. I think he's going to show a lot of that next year. And I think as he begins to rehabilitate his image, more companies will be willing to work with him. I think those sponsorship deals will eventually come back, and they may be bigger, especially if Kyle Larson shows a lot of the real change that those of us who have really been paying attention have seen so far.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Bradman kind of said it best. It's like, this is the best with young drivers and just, and even though they're young, they are still established drivers. The best that Hendrick's probably had it with two main leaders of an organization since Gordon and Johnson were racing and were younger and earlier in their careers. I don't think that Larson's going to set the world on fire right away. Like, I think playoffs should, bare minimum, should be the goal. Make playoffs, and I think, get past the round of 12 basically, because that's the problem they had, or he's had the last couple times. I think that I'm personally picking him right now to win the dirt race at Bristol. Watch, I get completely proven wrong, and people make a compilation on how many times I say this.
I think it's gonna be, he's the favorite, but I think a Christopher Bell could easily, like, give him a run for his money. I think something like that could happen.
My big question, though, about how his performance will be, because he started off this year really good. He was, I think, like 6th in points before the COVID apocalypse hit, and he looked like he could be up there with Blaney and Bowman and Harvick and Logano as the guys who could run for the championship. Of course, we know what happened, and then with Kenta jumping in the 42 and being out and not being that good. Let's be honest.
He's been bad. He's been bad.
I'm trying to be nice.
Oh, we lost Jarrett for a second. Are you back? I think he's back.
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
You just robot sped up talked in my ear.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with it. It's all OBS right now. But I'll just keep going. So what I'm worried about is, we talked about it a little earlier in the year. They're gonna have less wind tunnel time. I think it's
I forgot about that.
Is it 10 less hours that they're gonna have? And while that probably doesn't seem like much in the grand scheme of things, it's gonna be a lot. Towards the end of the year.
Think of it like this. This year they obviously stepped it up. They've got two guys who could potentially be upsets for the championship floor, but they're still not to like championship threat level by any means.
No, not at all.
And then next year, they got one guy coming back in NASCAR, only ran 4 races this year, and I don't know. It'll be interesting. But they did get a big pickup this week by getting Rudy Fugle over there. But that's obviously for another driver, but still, he's a big asset.
That's actually a good segue into what I wanted to talk about next. Like, how do we think that that Hendrick's going to do with him coming on over? He's going to be for William Byron, if I'm not mistaken. I could be. I've been on and off.
I think it's a huge step in the right direction, but I also think it's like you're taking William Byron and you're pairing him up with the guy who had one of the most consistently dominating runs that he's had in his entire career. Like, granted, he won the Xfinity Championship. That Truck Series run was arguably much better than that Xfinity Championship year. So I think basically Hendrick is throwing all that they got at William Byron and basically saying you need to step it up this year because you're 4 years in and still not looking like you're where you need to be.
Yeah, I think now or never for him. Like, if he doesn't perform with a crew chief that he's shown to have good chemistry with before, or if he gets worse, like that's the nightmare scenario for him. Is if he gets worse in the next year or two, it's not going to be a positive outlook.
If I'm William Byron and Hendrick still has the number 88, they think they still have the number 25. They've got both of those. If they decide to run 5 part-time starts with a Noah Gragson to get him some Cup experience, I'd be a little bit worried next year.
Yeah, and I think Rudy Fugle was honestly the best guy for the job. I mean, you're trying to replace Chad Knaus, one of the greatest to ever do it. I didn't think there was any way they could find anyone close to his caliber. And I'm not saying Rudy Fugle is, but you mentioned the chemistry he's shown with William Byron in the past. Was it 2016, right? They won 7 truck races. They blew up in like that second to last race, not just a fluke deal. So they didn't win the championship, unfortunately. That was before the regular season playoff points and everything mattered, which is why I prefer the current playoff format over the old playoff format. But anyway, that's a different conversation. But anyway, yeah, I was very impressed with Byron when he was in the trucks and when he came up to Xfinity, and he has not impressed me at all in Cup. And he's worked with Chad Knaus for almost 2 years, I guess, and and next year he'll be with Rudy Fugle. I'm with you guys. He needs to show some improvement. This year he definitely showed a little bit of improvement, winning a race, albeit Daytona, and making the playoffs. But I need to see a little more next year. He's the only guy at Hendrick I'm not fully sold on yet. I'm obviously sold on Chase. He's a championship contender. Larson, we already know. Alex Bowman, I this year has sold me. I thought last year might have been a fluke. This year proved it wasn't. I'm sold on Alex Bowman. I'm not sold on William Byron yet. He's the only one I'm like, we give him some leeway because he's the youngest of the group. He's the least experienced of the group. But if you go from Chad Knaus to Rudy Fugle, who's won multiple truck championships, won a bunch of truck races at Toyota and KBM, there should be an expectation that comes with that. So hopefully he meets it next year.
I just think that only one win on a super speedway isn't going to cut it for keeping a ride long term at Hendrick. Bowman's not that good, but he's still out there contending for wins on mile and a half, which is arguably where NASCAR is competing the most, and that's where you need to be the most consistent on.
David?
I agree. I think I agree with all of you that William Byron is definitely the weak link of that four. I think, Danny B, you just talked about it. You can't really get away with kind of some of the seasons that Dale Jr. had because William Byron is not Dale Jr. You can't just go to Hendrick and expect that your spot is safe anymore. And certainly I think looking at some of those guys like Noah Gragson, I think they're getting ready for prime time. And, if they keep performing like the way that they are, you're going to have to make a move at some point because I think Hendrick Motorsports has certainly got the people, got the funding, got the expertise, and certainly has the expectations to have all four cars in the playoffs every single year. I think that's like the expectation every single year should be for that team.
I kind of hate the 4-car rule in a way because I'd be fine if we're getting to see more truly good competitors getting the chance to have rides, but it's like we're forced in a situation where you do have to expect more to keep people where they are.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the. I think that was a change they made when they went to the charter system, where they limited the one-off races. Because I think if you guys will remember, they entered the 25 car a couple of races for Chase Elliott the year before he went full time, and that stuff was cool. I kind of missed that. I remember Penske entered Juan Pablo Montoya in a couple of races too, which is really fun.
And even.
He did,
and even Ryan Blaney drove that car for a brief period at time. That's that season.
And Sam Hornish, I think.
Yeah.
So those are fun. Those kind of one-off entries are fun. I miss when that was a more regular thing in NASCAR. That's for sure.
All right, we have enough time probably for one more story before we go to lightning round. But before that, with super chats. The super chats are disappearing, so I apologize to everyone. If I see a croissant in there, I'll take a bite. I've been doing that. I see Danny laugh every time I do it. But Blake Raymer is the only one that's showing up on my screen right now. We have $5 Canadian and says thoughts and prayers for Chase Briscoe and his wife today had another miscarriage. That's just horrible.
I'd seen that.
If you guys aren't rooting for him to win a championship this season, I don't know what's wrong with your heart, because that's definitely who I want to see win now.
Yeah, all of our thoughts and prayers are with the Briscoes right now. Let's get one more story in here beforehand. This one, because we only got about 5 minutes for lightning round, so this one's a bit of a shorter one, but it kind of hits home for me going to Chicagoland a lot. From the Herald News, Chicagoland Speedway president Scott Paddock is leaving the track. This is already on top of the fact they're not getting a cup race next year, and on top of the fact that they have no staff currently at the track. I do not.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say right away. I don't say to do this, but I'm saying that between Reddit and YouTube and Twitter, there's been a lot of people just walking in and out onto the track. No one's there. It's basically a ghost town now, and.
Yeah, like David just said, the writing's on the wall there. You have no event. Your president just left. Why is there any reason to continue?
Well,
it's
into a sinking ship too.
Yeah, they usually hire a president or a CEO right before things get bad. Unfortunately, I see that happen a lot in corporations. I did see you mention again. I totally disavow this, but if somebody were to, might not be a bad idea to bring a drone or something and document the track with some glorious HD footage, because I don't think this is going to be a Nazareth situation. I think when it goes, it's going to be pretty quick. So I because we had those leaks earlier in the year of I think it was an industrial park or something that was
warehouses and things as well. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it doesn't look good for Chicagoland, and it wasn't the greatest track in the world, but there were certainly some good Cup races there. There were some good IndyCar races there too. But I think it's always sad to see a racetrack go away in a market that really doesn't have any other racing, and also to mention that Chicagoland going away also means that they're losing a drag strip, so this hurts the NHRA as well. And all the people who work there, like you said, it's really a shame when we see those sort of things, because I think we need more jobs in the auto racing industry, not less. And so when a track goes away, that's a lot of jobs that are suddenly going poof.
Well, I think between the two tracks that we lost this year, I would say Kentucky Speedway has a better shot of coming back than Chicagoland, honestly, which is kind of surprising because Kentucky Speedway is literally out in the middle of nowhere. Chicagoland's obviously in a big metro area, but I would say Kentucky Speedway's got a good chance of coming back. And to further point on what David was saying, a lot of jobs being lost, and yeah, it's really it sucks. But I'm personally saying the Nashville area is got a big boost in the right direction from Nashville Super Speedway coming back. Because from what I understand, having talked to some of the people over at the very small team that's over there, and I think it's like 5 or 6 people, to be honest with you, that's over at Nashville Super Speedway right now. But from what I've talked to them in just a brief period of time, they're looking at transforming that place into more than just one NASCAR race a year. They're looking at potentially, now that we have COVID to worry about, Nashville wants to have events. They want to have venues, and they're looking to utilize it as like an outdoor event space where they can properly space people out. And I think that's a good idea.
That's smart, especially with the climate as it is right now, and then especially in the racing world and in NASCAR how it is right now. You could get away with 1 or 2 events a year when you were selling, hundreds of thousands of seats or 100,000 seats, and then you also had even more TV money rolling in. But you don't have the sponsorship coming in and helping out and filling a lot of gaps. So I think that's smart, and I think that was Chicagoland's biggest sin is they left it there all year. So I think that's a smart move to do. Hopefully it works out and it's not just a ghost town after the 4 or 5 years or whatever that the contract ends out being. I just personally, it just sucks seeing Chicagoland go, because it was a good racetrack, and there's a lot of character in the infield, especially too. Having gone there in the infield for I believe this would have been my 14th or 15th straight year. It was really fun. So I hope that everyone who was there in those last couple of years enjoyed it. I know I sure did. Between Slide Job and then Bowman's win, and the fact that I don't know if I've told this story before, but the story of the Brandt tent in the infield. Have I told that one?
No,
I think so.
So, you remember last year's Chicagoland race? And by the way, I will read all these super chats right for the lightning round, so don't worry.
Hey, can I go ahead and answer one of those for you?
Yeah, sure. I only have one of them up right now.
Okay, because Evan White gave you $6.99 Canadian dollars. He said, "Do you think a high horsepower / high downforce could be interesting? Just go back and watch 2014 and then tell us what you think."
To that degree, yes. Don't do what they did in 2015 at Indy and Michigan. Those were some of the worst races, I think, of the last decade. There's a certain point for each of them. But really quick, the story about the Brandt tent. So in the infield last year, Brandt had this huge tent. I mean, it took up and it was through turns 3 and 4. So there's a tunnel, and then there's a quarter of the corner there is segmented off as fan area. So Brandt bought up those areas and placed a giant tent there where their workers would go into. There's free food. There's there were TVs, stuff like that in there. Well, I know a lot of you guys at home, and I know you guys all here were watching last year when that big storm rolled in. That was I was tweeting about it and everything at the track, and we're sitting in our motorhome looking down the way, and they had everybody from inside the tent on the outside of it holding it down so it didn't blow away, because it almost blew away before. So they had like 100 people literally out in the freaking storm getting pelted with hail so they could keep this damn tent from flying away and not having another orange incident.
Wow, that's crazy.
I wish I could have like a picture to show you how big this tent was, because it was like, you remember in like gym where you'd have that multicolored thing and everyone would lift it up and then go underneath it? Like, do you guys know what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm talking about? It was like they were around it like that, and then you'd see these people like getting picked up off the ground and falling back down. Hail coming through, 100-mile-an-hour wind, and I guarantee someone goes, You are keeping this thing down, or I am firing you. You're not showing up to work on Monday. It's one of the funniest things. Sorry, I had to say it because I always love telling that story, even if it's funnier when you see it in person. But yeah, so really quick, I'll read off these super chats. GN with the $5 super chat says Briscoe showing grit after beating Busch at Darlington after the awful news earlier this year turned me into a fan of his. Hate to hear it. Yeah, and that's where we are. And I'd tell you that race is what sold me on Briscoe being legit, is when he, did not have the better car and he still beat Kyle Busch at Darlington. Kyle Kieskin says, well, they take away my home track. At least the Brickyard is a road course, so at least that'll be interesting. Mark B with $2 says Chase Elliott's pit crew blew another race. Croissant.
Oh,
I
feel for you. Well, I don't really. That's
your beard's gonna taste like that for about a week.
I might shave it in a week if it does. I might show up. Everyone's gonna be like, he hasn't been like that in a year. Ethan Kane for the $4.99 super chat says, for David, why is it that IndyCar has been taking these tracks like Chicagoland off the schedule the last 10 years? I think it's hurt these tracks.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily hurt the tracks, because the way that the reason IndyCar was there back in the day, and the reason they had such big crowds, believe it or not, was because in the mid 2000s when NASCAR was absolutely at the peak, and they could do anything to sell tickets. At many of those tracks, like Chicagoland and a few other, Kansas was another one, they would sell season passes to get Cup tickets. So you couldn't just buy Cup tickets. You had to buy trucks, Xfinity, and the IndyCar tickets. It was like a whole package. So really, the IndyCar races that they ran at Chicagoland were always kind of contingent on Cup. Now, that being said, I think that the fact that IndyCar doesn't race at tracks like Chicagoland is a bit of a shame, because certainly, I mean, you guys probably know are well aware of what my thoughts are on the IndyCar schedule for this year. The lack of ovals is certainly concerning, and the fact that there are at least 2 tracks now without Cup dates that are, at least in the past, were compatible with Indy cars. Yeah, it's disappointing. Do I think that an IndyCar race would save Chicagoland? No, because that same thing's happening in Iowa, and Iowa essentially told IndyCar that, Roger Penske was thinking about buying Iowa and then discovered they were in some tax trouble or some financial trouble and didn't buy it. So that's what's going on there. So I don't think an oval track is outside of Indianapolis, of course, is totally, its survival is hinged on an IndyCar race being run there or not.
Real quick, Mike Klein with the $5 super chat says Kentucky Speedway is actually within a 45-mile drive of Louisville and Cincinnati, so it's not necessarily in the middle of nowhere. Super sticker for $10 from my grandmother. Hey, Grandma. In 22 seconds, you will see that I read this.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool. $10 from Irvin Alvarado says, hey, David Land, love your videos on St. Pete and Road Atlanta. If NASCAR goes to a street course, where do you think it's best suited, or where do you think it's best suited track for them to try out would be? Any modifications to the race suitable? I guess where's the best place for a NASCAR street course?
A street course. Well, I mean, the great thing about street courses is you're not limited to ones that exist currently. So honestly, with NASCAR, I would love to see them go to a street circuit in a city that hasn't been tried before. So if you could do you probably couldn't do one in New York City, but if you could do one in New Jersey, maybe get the New York City skyline in the background, that would be cool. If you could do Miami, I guess there's a cup race in Miami, so that's probably not a good idea. But I think if you did a street course race for NASCAR, I would want to see them try to expand into a market that either doesn't have racing or at least doesn't have NASCAR. I'd like to see a new event created with kind of NASCAR's pull. But if not, if we're just sticking to temporary courses, I'd like to see them try the airport in Cleveland. Just so we can have that race back, because I think cup cars on an airport would be incredible.
What do you guys think?
I never really thought about that, but that is a cool idea. There was the reports a while back that NASCAR was interested maybe in Chicago, a street course around Chicago. They mentioned Soldier Field. That isn't Chicago, right, Jarrett?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna make sure I got my city right. For a second, I was like, "Oh crap! Wait, am I completely off on this?"
It's where the Bears play.
Even though I'm not a Bears fan, it sucks the way that they treated the architecture of that one, to say the least. Watch Urinating Trees video if you want to know what I'm talking about.
Well, that fits
stadium.
That fits what David's saying. There is a track or a city that doesn't really have there isn't a street course there that's being run or anything like that. And NASCAR, if they do get rid of Chicagoland speed, it would be nice to not leave the Chicago area entirely. So that's a possibility.
I'm going to go on a limb here and suggest a market that's not being targeted by really any kind of motorsports that I can think of. And it definitely has a great atmosphere, and that's New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Not a lot of room in the French Quarter for race cars, but I'm sure they could find a way to make something happen.
Find a way, but that would be a good market.
Well, I mean, the thing about street course racing is it's amazing. St. Petersburg, I just went to a street course races, as maybe some of the chat knows. The St. Petersburg street race, there's really only a couple of roads that get blocked off. It's really not as impressive as you kind of think it would be. And most of the life in the city continues on. So if you did run a race in Chicago or New Orleans, it's not like you're shutting the whole city down. You would be able to find probably a string of roads where you could have a nice competitive racetrack. And it would be, and that what the cool thing about street racing is, which again, this was about the first street race I've ever seen in person, is you can walk away from the track and a block away is a great restaurant that you can eat at. And there's entertainment and all the stuff that you would want to have at a real racetrack, but it's already integrated. You don't have to pay to build any of that stuff. All you have to do is bring in the concrete blocks and bring in the haulers, and you've got a race ready to go. So that's kind of the cool thing about street racing. And like Eric said, I think Chicago would be probably the number one, actually, now that I think about it, because that's a huge market. That's one that you're leaving currently, and it would be something new that you could try.
Let's see, a little more here. Super chats. Stratus DSYR $5 says, do you think IndyCar going to spec chassis in 2018 was a good move? Do you think also IndyCar would ever go back to Rio?
Okay, so well, I mean, they went to spec bodywork in 18. They went to spec chassis in 2012, really, and really before then. I mean, there hasn't really been chassis competition in IndyCar since about 2006, 2007. Rio, well, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about the city, Rio de Janeiro, maybe. Certainly, you'd have to find a new facility because the old Rio track they ran there, it got bulldozed for the Olympics several years ago. So it would be tough. I hear F1's thinking about leaving Interlagos, so maybe an IndyCar race at Interlagos would be really awesome, and I think you'd get a lot of goodwill with the Brazilian people if you went to a track that F1 may or may not be abandoning.
Hey, Jared, I got two things. One, is it your 21st birthday today?
No. It will be on Sunday.
Okay, well, you got an early super chat there.
Right,
Also, Corey LaJoy just tweeted out at 10:07. in other news, plane is busted, looking like another night in Texas, and another
Oh.
breakfast burrito from Boosie's, he says.
Bucky's.
Or Bucky's, that's how you say
What
it.
did you just say?
I don't know how to say it. Oh gosh!
I even know how to say Bucky's. Come on,
I'm pissed off
Danny
the
B.
Texas man.
I will say this: they are building a Bucky's in Florida, and I was so excited when we were driving by there, and it's not open yet. I was like, oh man, I just want the Bucky's caramel corn. It's all
Eric's legitimate not coming back now.
Yeah, he left. You literally got him off the call because
He's probably about to go get something Bucky's and shove it at my face.
Well, while he does that, let's read off some of these super chats.
he's-
Stream Cheese 199 says, "How about a points race outside the U.S.?" Probably after the COVID stuff goes away. That'd probably be something we can try out. Probably Canada first. Everett Alvarado with $5 super chat says, "If you want New York City in the background, have a race at Weehawken, somewhere in New Jersey. Close to my backyard. Supposed to be an F1 track, but see Bernie Ecclestone's ego and no money. Mad face." Ronnie Checker says, "NASCAR should race I-4 in Orlando. Croissants for Danny B."
Oh gosh, he went and got it. Okay, there's no K. How can it be Bucky's?
There's no K.
Oh, I can't hear him.
His mic's out.
No, I'm not going to do this.
Okay, now I hear
No,
him.
but my that is my mother who left the $23 super chat. Telling me happy
Okay,
birthday. So
well,
thank you, Mom.
I figured out a name.
My mother is mother of all icebergs, so don't say nothing bad about me. Don't say anything to me that you wouldn't say in front of my mother. Evan Liu says Denver's got to be up there on street courses. Not really a racing market. Be interesting to see what attitude, what the altitude would do to the teams. Also, croissant.
They did run a street circuit in Champ Car around the Pepsi Center. So there is I mean, as long as they haven't really done a lot of construction over there, again, I'm not familiar with Denver. There's theoretically a precedent with the local government that you could probably just run the same street circuit for NASCAR in Denver if you wanted to.
I just got
That would
corrected.
be a good market.
That's how I say it. Okay, my bad. But thank you for those super chats. And I guess Danny, what time is it? I think that there's a bit of a rumbling.
You know what? I'm all the way up here in New Hampshire, and I think we're under some kind of a severe blizzard warning now.
I think it's a
With some
thunderstorm.
lightning in it.
Yeah, it's thunder snow.
With
It's thunder
some
snow.
lightning.
That is actually real. Living in the Midwest, thunder snow is real, where you have a thunderstorm, but it's a blizzard.
Yep.
But it's a lightning round. Woohoo!
I've seen it before in Tennessee. It's really weird.
It's funny you kept saying I like that as you're getting struck by the lightning on it. It was perfect. But yes, it's lightning round time. All right, so here's what we got. We got a lot of stuff.
Never before have I been so glad to stutter a little bit. So.
Don't worry, I stuttered too. So Matt Tift, BJ McLeod, and Joe Falk are collaborating to run a NASCAR Cup Series team. Looking towards next year. Man, everyone's just jumping in on this thing. Thank you.
Will they be good?
I don't know. Let's see. Root Insurance has a new ad with Bubba Wallace, and it's making some waves around social media. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. These croissants they're like won't go all the way down, so I keep like having to stop.
You need something to drink? This is the small at Bucky's. I have plenty. There's plenty more where this came from.
Oh my God!
I will have a drink from Bucky's.
They don't have Bucky's in Tennessee.
They don't have it in Illinois either, but I say it right. Sorry, I had to. Okay, Go Fast Racing is going to scale back operations to a part-time team.
Buckey. That's how you spell
That
it.
spells Buckeyes. No, sorry. What did you say, Jarrett? We missed the lightning round.
Go Fast is scaling back operations to a part-time team next year, which sucks, but I'm pretty sure Corey LaJoy is pretty happy to jump ship from that. JRM.
And I think we know why they mutually parted ways a couple months back. I think we kind of know why now.
JRM late model driver Josh.
Yeah, just go back and watch last week's episode. You'll get that.
Josh Berry is going to drive the number 8 Xfinity Series car in 2021 we have 12 races. By the way, with Kyle Larson coming back, his Twitter has also come back too. So I noticed that. I saw it on my timeline. I'm like, Kyle Larson. I'm like, that's a name I haven't seen on here for a long time. NASCAR premiered the 2005 Fall Texas race. Eric, that has no significance whatsoever to you, does it?
That was the first race I ever went to in person, so it was fun to kind of reminisce. I don't remember a whole lot about what happened in the race, other than Matt Kenseth led like 100 laps to start the race and finished third, and Carl Edwards won. I remember Roush was extremely fast. Mark Martin was fast. Biffle was all the Roush cars, I think, led laps at some point or another. So it was cool to first race see Carl Edwards do a backflip. I don't actually remember seeing the backflip happened. I probably did, but it didn't stick with me as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old. But it was still cool that it happened, and I was there. So fun that NASCAR replayed that one.
Keen Parts will now be pulling out of their sponsorship in 2021. No garage access, no racing, in their words. GMS announces that Sheldon Creed and Tyler Ankrum will be returning for another full-time season in trucks. Jimmie Johnson and Chip Ganassi Racing have found a sponsor for next year. It's Carvana, and I believe they announced he's also going to be driving the 48 next year as his number. So a little continuity there.
And the 48 will run full-time is the plan. I don't know who else is going to be running the car, but it's supposed to run full-time.
Kyle Larson is going to be shutting down his dirt team at the end of the season, which that coincides really nicely with what was announced today. Chase Elliott is actually going to be taking a break from social media, and I had to ask if he was there to begin with, because he doesn't really go on it, but I guess he does what a lot of us do in his browses. So.
Yeah, I think he sees a ton of stuff. The majority of what you see posted is from a PR person. That'll probably continue, but he's just not going to be on it as much, I think.
Just letting people know, second half of the show, which we're in, but after the lightning round and maybe one or two other stories right before picks, we're going to have the Jimmie Johnson interview. I see a lot of people asking. So Jimmie will be on. Pre-recorded, but he'll be on. GN, Casey Mears says, for $2, Casey Mears had a very fast car in the 05 Texas race. You are right. Let's see what else we got here. This one, I had to actually go back and rewind really quick when I heard about it, because I wasn't paying attention to the rain delay at all. And then all of a sudden I saw Twitter blowing up. Dale Jr. gave online creators a shout out live, but he gave one in particular, Slap Shoes, a shout out by name. And it was funny. I DM Slap man, that's so cool. Like, you got a shout out from Dale Jr. I am like both happy for you and incredibly jealous. And he's like, yeah, it wasn't really on my itinerary for the day.
I feel like that's one of those things that someone might have come back and said, hey, you shouldn't have mentioned it by name, but Dale Jr. probably like, I don't care.
It's Dale Jr., why would he? I want to give some shout-outs, though, right here. Granted, they're a bit of pay grade above me. But Xfinity Underdogs, who had good runs this past weekend. Brandon Brown got a top 5, finishing 5th. Ryan Vargas finished 8th in the TikTok car. Josh Williams finished 9th. Tommy Joe Martins finally had some good luck on his side this year and finished 10th. And then Bailey Curry finished 12th. So good job to those guys. Like, I saw, because I wasn't able to watch it, but I saw Twitter afterwards and seeing how they all did. And that's awesome, especially for Ryan. Like, we all know Ryan. He's an awesome dude. So he's worked his ass off for this deal with TikTok and worked his ass off just for this ride and for the opportunity he has right now. So to see it pay off is just awesome. Like, we've been able to see some of the stuff behind the scenes, at least not all of it obviously, but just hear some hearsay from him, and it's awesome just to see somebody that we're really good friends with do this well in the sport. Let's see a little more here. Speaking of Slap, I did want to point out he finished his Mark Martin series, really awesome series, especially the end of the 09 episode. Let's see, we got the Texas Victory Lane. It was announced would be renamed into the Jimmie Johnson's Winner's Circle. Too bad he could not have went into it today. That was a bummer. But I want to give a shout out to Lefty for designing that scheme. That's pretty badass. And then Bubba Wallace. Bubba Wallace ranks as NASCAR's most well-known driver, and the polling suggests that the partnership with MJ has a lot to do with it and is putting NASCAR out to a broader audience right now. That one's that still doesn't surprise me.
He's living in people's heads, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I said on my show several weeks ago at this point that Bubba Wallace is the closest thing NASCAR currently has to a household name. Not necessarily because he's winning races out there, but he is a household name. People made fun of me for that. No, guys, people, for better or worse, they know Bubba Wallace's name.
You can't say anything positive about Bubba Wallace without getting I mean, it's amazing. Like, and I say every time I describe Bubba Wallace is I call him NASCAR star Bubba Wallace. And star does not mean you're performing well. It means that people know you.
Oh yeah, Danica Patrick was a NASCAR star. So.
100%. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. We got 3 more things here to finish off the lightning round, and then we can get into a few more things. But Planters is sponsoring Alex Bowman at Martinsville, and it's a good thing I wasn't on the infield because I would have to stay away from the 88 car. Allergies, wonderful things. Kyle Larson.
Let's all go nuts.
I'm gonna die.
Carl Singleton, $2 super chat says, my dream podcast guest, Darrell Waltrip. I'll take note of that for next year. Gian has a question for you, David. I'll read it right after we finish this because we just got 2 more things. Kyle Larson is making his World of Outlaws late model debut at Charlotte next Wednesday and Thursday. So that's a pretty cool deal. And then the last one, and I found this to be actually really, really classy of these sponsors. Clint Boyer has announced that he is going to have all of his previous 43 primary sponsors on his deck lid at Martinsville this Sunday. So, like, any of the ones he had, all the way up are going to be there.
5 Hour Energy, Jack Daniels, Cheerios, all getting that free marketing.
Holiday Inn. I mean, like,
all
of them. So that's
BB&T. Does BB?
Yeah,
BB&T still around? Didn't they get merch in?
Oh,
someone?
Yeah. But yeah, that's the lightning round. So
wait. Are we gonna get 5 Hour Energy on the car?
Yeah, that's how you get stuff done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Furniture Row Racing rolling in their grave right now.
I just thought about something. I just thought of that. Someone did a fake ad where it's Clint Boyer running through the garage straight to Jeff Gordon's hauler at Phoenix, and then it pans to Clint Boyer. 5 Hour Energy, but I gotta get stuff done.
I know exactly who did that. That was back in the day. I think that was a guy named Orion who did that.
I laughed my ass off the first time I saw that. But thank you guys for the lightning round. Really quick, there's 2 here that I can read. $5 from the Beeve24 says, y'all think Bowman would have won if it weren't for the pit road mishap with the 47? Greg Ives didn't tell him the 47 would wait for him to leave.
I'll be the first to answer that. No, he would not have. He still came back to finish 3rd in that stage. Like, that did nothing to him, really. It was just, I mean, that was in stage 2, and they just didn't have it in the last stage. So, no, he would not have.
GN leaves this a question for David. How do you think Jimmie will do next year in IndyCar? I'd say 1 podium finish. Also, who do you think is going to run the ovals in the 48?
Okay, so Jimmie in IndyCar is an interesting quandary because in some respects, I think a lot of outsiders are probably going to look at him, and even some people inside are going to go, okay, he's a NASCAR guy. He's probably not going to do very well. But to me, the guy is a champion for a reason. He's coming in extremely motivated. He's coming into a situation where he's got Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, Mike Hull, Chip Ganassi, a huge team, a very experienced race-winning, championship-winning, Indy 500 winning drivers, team owners, and crew chiefs, and all that stuff, all working together with him. I think if he gets the testing that he needs, I think he's going to be on pace. I think 1 podium is a very reasonable expectation. But I think he's going to impress some people. As for the oval driver, I think it's pretty common knowledge at this point that it's going to be Tony Kanaan finishing out his kind of final year this time with Chip Ganassi Racing, which will be a super competitive ride, I think, if we look at Dixon's pace, especially in the Indy 500 at Texas this year. And I'll be honest with you guys, with everything that Jimmie has said, and I hope this isn't a spoiler for what's about to come, but I haven't seen the interview yet, unfortunately. But my my opinion is that he will start testing on the ovals this year at some point, and he will run full time in 22. We'll see.
We shall see. That'll be big news if that happens.
We'll see. And we only got one more story before we get to the Jimmie Johnson interview, so it's right around the corner, guys. Just dangling in that there. Just letting you know, all 700 of you. But we got.
We wait for all the Buc-ee's drama and croissant jokes.
And that was some real. Have we had? Does Buc-ee's make croissants? Ooh, I don't even know that. What if they do? That would be the crossover episode of the century.
All right.
Well,
give us the news there, Jarrett.
Well, MJ and Denny Hamlin's team name has been made official, and it's officially named 23XI Racing, aka 2311. It's amazing how many people don't know Roman numerals. They will.
I shuddered when you said XI.
Like, it's something that like 2311 doesn't sound bad, but also 23XI is also it's also easy to say too. So either one, I'll probably, you'll know what they're talking about.
Yeah, just say 2311. I don't know about XI. Yeah, a lot of people didn't get the Roman numerals thing. It's a cool looking logo. They produced that little 30-second video, kind of hype, kind of exciting. I don't know. It's great. They got team names, still waiting to find out who the crew chief is. That's when I'll really start to we can really start to gauge what their performance is going to be. They're probably going to be good next year. TRD and everything sounds like they're going to be with them but I want to know who the crew chief's going to be. Since it's not Jerry Baxter and it's not Rudy Fugel, who's it going to be?
Yep. David?
I think, I think the logo kind of looks bad. Am I the only one? Kind of looks a little,
I like the
little Photoshoppy. I was expecting a little bit more.
I definitely think it's a little plain, but I like that they incorporate sort of the Chicago Bulls red into the logo. I do like the color scheme.
Well, I think we were all expecting that, right?
Yes, but
no, it's going to be the Wizards number, and it was going to be 45.
45-11. They're going to run 45th.
Oh, no.
No.
No, they're going to run the Bulls colors, but they're going to have the 45, and it was only going to run for like half a season.
They got to incorporate the 45 somewhere. Would he wear 45 with the White Sox or in baseball? Didn't he?
No, it was when he came back to the Bulls.
Yeah, they retired 23, and he had to wear 45 until they unretired it.
Wait, I was going to say he couldn't just take his old number back. I didn't know what.
I think it's something with the league. I don't know. I wasn't alive back then. I don't know.
Well, I knew he did that. I was asking if he also, when he played baseball, his not so glamorous baseball career, if he also wore 45.
Yeah, I think he had 23. And the thing is, like, he wasn't a good baseball player, but he would get hits because catchers would be like. The story was catchers would be so, I guess, mesmerized or in awe of Michael Jordan being there, they'd let him know the pitches, and he still sucked in baseball.
He did wear 45 in baseball.
So we got to get the 45 involved on the car somehow. Maybe they'll start an Xfinity team one day, and it'll be number 45.
That's going to be Denny's number when he ultimately leaves Joe Gibbs Racing.
Probably, yeah, I think so.
When was the last time anybody even ran 45? Yeah, well, I guess it would have been Kyle Petty.
Yeah, 2000.
That's my guess. I have no idea.
Or Chad McCumbee. Anyone remember him?
Ooh, there's a reference.
He played Dale Jr.
Yeah. Alongside Barry Pepper.
I don't know this story.
That's the movie where we for whatever reason had a sex scene with Dale Earnhardt and Teresa Earnhardt.
What is the? I don't know what we're talking about. This is a reference that's gone over my head.
You need to watch the Dale Earnhardt story sometime.
Oh gosh.
But I guess.
Okay. I have not seen that.
I guess I'm looking.
It's on YouTube for free. You can watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm looking here, and I only got one open space outside of picks left. And I don't think we're gonna do picks until last. I think we got an interview left. What do you think? Should we head on over?
Give the people what they want.
Not?
So let everyone know, when did you guys record this?
We recorded this about an hour before the original start time of the race. So you can actually hear during the interview, you can hear the trucks in the background going by towards the end of the truck race, because it was filmed with about 15 to 20 to go with the truck race.
Which also means that Eric was not there with us.
But I'm excited to see it along with all 700 people watching at home.
Well, I'm gonna meet you guys, and I guess we can just get right into it. So y'all are muted, so say all you want to mess with me or not. But yeah, let's get it right on into it. This is our Steph saying croissant. This is our interview with Jimmie Johnson.
Welcome, everybody, once again to another interview on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. This one's a really special one. We have 83-time Cup winner, 2-time Daytona 500 champion, and 7-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Real good. Hope you guys are too.
Oh, we are. To just start up and get right into it, this season's your final season. And I wanted to ask, how has the response from fans this year really impacted you on how your legacy is going to be? How has it kind of changed that in any way?
Yeah, this year, we fortunately had 4 or 5 races to start the year before the pandemic hit. And I was just overwhelmed with emotion. The tributes that have been put in place from tracks, fans, the signs that I saw in the stands, the fan cheering me at driver intros. It was really special to have such just such interest and honestly such positive vibes coming from the group. And then of course things all changed and we had the lockdown, and now we're slowly getting fans back at track. And I really do appreciate their efforts, their positive vibes and all that's coming with it. It's not the year we planned it to be, but I do feel the support and getting plenty of recognition for my final full-time year in Cup.
Jimmie, this year has been, emotional for everyone, but over the last few years, I know a lot of fans who just started watching NASCAR 2016, 2017, 2018 prior. Now, me and Jarrett here, we had the opportunity to see you definitely at your peak when you were winning consecutive championships. However, for a close cousin of my wife, Crystal, she became a fan of yours in 2018. Now, for someone like her, obviously, the last few years they've been great, but they haven't been as good as they once were. So my question really is, for fans who just started watching, when they think of greats that they know of, like a Dale Earnhardt, like Tony Stewart, like a Jeff Gordon, where do you want your legacy to fall on when they think of you, even if they didn't start watching until later on?
Yeah, it's so hard for me to say where I think I should be. It's just weird kind of. And then too, I don't think that way. I don't think along those lines. But I can tell you that the fact that my name's mentioned with those names just is the coolest thing ever. It blows my mind. I grew up in Southern California, grew up racing on 2 wheels, racing dirt bikes. My mom was a school bus driver. My dad's a heavy equipment operator. So I had the humblest of beginnings to get started, and to have my love of racing take me all around the country and end up where I have so out exceeded my expectations or dreams. It's just been the coolest, wildest ride. And sure, there was a point in time where the wins and championships just seemed to happen. I still wish that was the case today, and I'm certainly putting in the effort, and so is my team to do so. Just the timing of all those pieces aren't there. And it's been a rough couple of years, and I hate that my final year has been this way. Not only the pandemic, but the performance hasn't been where we want it to be. But I've got 3 more races left. I'm going to give it everything that I can and hopefully get back to victory lane, and then start checking some bucket list items off my list as I move into 21 and 22.
So that actually goes right on into what we were going to talk about next. Next year, you're heading over to IndyCar. You've ruled out racing on the ovals at this time, but you did mention potentially testing on one. How far have those discussions gone?
That's really the extent of it. The car that I'll be running in plans to run a full season, so there will be some oval tests available to the team. And in a single car test session, I'm plenty comfortable to go do that, and would like to experience it so that I can make it better based on my comfort for those fast, high-speed ovals. So it's an exciting time, but there's still business at hand here in the NASCAR world. I need to get back to victory lane. I want to close this year out well, and enjoy as much as I can with my family and friends right now.
Jimmie, in terms of your IndyCar ride, first of all, congratulations on the new sponsor, Carvana. Happy to see them entering the racing world. But when it comes to that ride, was there ever any better option than Ganassi with Dario and Dixon over there to help you out?
I fortunately had some great interest from very high caliber teams in IndyCar. At the end of the day, I just really felt like the relationships I have at CGR, from Dario, Dixon, Doug Ducart, Mike Hull, there's just some guys in there that I know. Chip himself, that it was just the best home for me. And I feel like having Scott Dixon as a friend and a coach to really mentor me through a rookie season, help me learn these cars and understand what to look for. I just felt like that was really invaluable and something I couldn't pass up.
Well, Jimmie, there's been a lot of fans that have really been interested in your season and especially in this interview here today. So we got a few questions from some of them. So starting off, Jonathan K asks, question for the GOAT. Who do you think the GOAT is?
It is and I've never been one that thought there was the GOAT of baseball, football, basketball. There's always somebody else coming along. So I've never been a fan using that lightly or trying to pick someone, because everything's progressing. So that's just me. In our sport in NASCAR, it's so hard to pick, I think, as well, because of the eras that the three names that typically come to mind, which are Petty, Earnhardt, and myself. I couldn't have done it in Petty's era. I don't think I could have done it in Richard's and in Dale's era. I don't think they could have done it in mine. It's just the game keeps changing, and what it takes to be successful today with data. Richard Petty was not going to stare at data and not drive a simulator and dig into all those things. So they're just different animals. And I wasn't going to live on the road 100 weeks out of the year, working out of hotels on my race car myself. I mean, I can take them apart, but I can't put them back together. And so they're just different generations and different ways to go about it. So I don't know if I can pick one. It's just too hard to do.
Well, we have another one here that's kind of a combination of two different ones. One, what was your favorite win, and which championship has meant the most to you?
I'd go first. First win, first championship. First win, I honestly felt like if I didn't win in 02, I wouldn't have a job. And my dream was to win a cup race. So I checked 2 boxes quick then. And then my first championship, we came close in 04 and 05, and things just kind of fell apart late in the year. And I wasn't sure we would have another look at a championship. They don't come every day, and I had no idea what was in store for me in the future, clearly. So the first win, first championship, those moments were the biggest for me.
And then our last question is from a friend of ours, a fellow YouTuber, and a huge fan of yours, Michael Roots.
Guys at the NASCAR Weekly podcast were nice enough to allow me to ask Jimmie one question. So, Jimmie, how do you feel your time in NASCAR has affected you, the person?
As a person, man, it has taught me so many lessons and has helped me dig deep. I've grown in so many ways, personally and professionally. It's provided so much for me, for my family. I've spent, when I look at my Xfinity days, 21 seasons in the NASCAR world. So, that's almost half of my life. And I think of the fact I met my wife during this period of time, my closest friends that I have now, my children, all that has been during this NASCAR era. And, you want to say that you don't take work home and those two worlds don't combine, but it does, so the lessons I've learned professionally have helped me personally, and personally have also helped me professionally. So it's a lot of who I am today. I'm very proud of that.
Well, I think that's a perfect place to end off. Thank you, Jimmie. Is there anywhere that you want people to watch out for you to do anything on social media, any special announcements coming up, anything like that?
Well, the big one we let out of the bag yesterday, which was our IndyCar sponsor in Carvana. I'm very excited to have them on board, and we'll have a lot of visual content being pushed out on our channels and on Carvana's here in the near future.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for this interview, and now back to the show.
We're back. All right. Yeah, so I saw that we watch our interviews because the water is very clear on our end. But yeah, we thank God we didn't spoil that secret for you. Yeah, we did get Michael on, and keep an eye out on Michael's channel in the next.
I lost Jared.
We got Michael, but we lost Jared.
Okay. Well, okay. Keep an eye on Michael's channel in the next day or two. Just saying. Our internet connection's unstable. It'll all after the stream all plays out and everything, it should be okay. But yeah, so hold on. I'll let everyone know right now. Refresh. But the OBS has been going on and off. It's yeah, it's ridiculous. But it's coming up.
I think it's honestly their. I think it's honestly their most recent update. It hasn't been well for you for some reason.
Yeah, it's my computer. That's probably the biggest problem. But we're back on right now. We're good to go. It's all good. So yeah, I guess we got a little bit left. Just like I said, keep an eye on Michael's channel. There's something cool coming up. But before we can get to tomorrow or the day after, I'd say go and give us your picks because we're gonna be starting off those right now. So yeah, David, you know how this goes. Who's gonna suck? Dark horse win, and then we also ask for the consensus of the. We ask for the consensus of the chat now, because that's always fun. But you're our guest man. Start us off. Who's gonna suck this week at Martinsville? Because yes, there is a race in 3 days or 4 days.
I know, that's crazy. So am I limited to the playoff drivers?
No, you can get.
No, you can have the whole field.
Oh my God, the whole field.
Pick Quinn Houff if you're really feeling dangerous.
Oh, that's like shooting a fish in a barrel. Come on. You know what? I will go with playoff guys because I think it's going to be very important. I mean, that's going to be the storyline everybody's looking at. Who's going to get in that Final Four? And I'm sorry, Kamikaze. I just have a feeling that Martin Truex is not going to make it. So I think he's going to have a bad day somehow. I don't think he's going to get that 3 in a row. I'm feeling Martin Truex Jr. for suckage.
Eric?
That is a bold pick. Okay, well, if I'm going second, I'll stick with the playoff guy. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna go out of limb. I'll go all in. Why not? It's for entertainment. It's for YouTube here. I think Denny Hamlin struggles. He finished 24th here in the summer, whatever it was, May, June. I don't remember when they ran it. He finished 24th because they just didn't have speed. And obviously, Martinsville historically is one of Denny Hamlin's better tracks, but they just haven't run as well as they usually do during these playoffs. 3 top 10s in 8 races. They got that win at Talladega on a technicality, I guess. I just think Hamlin, they don't have the mojo right now. And so I don't necessarily know that he's going to fall out of the championship 4. He does have like a 27-point cushion, but he's going to be in a vulnerable position if someone like Truex or Chase Elliott gets the win. I think he struggles and runs outside the top 10 all day.
Mm-hmm. I am actually going to agree with Eric on this one. I'm going with Denny Hamlin as well. Also, just because of a bad finish earlier this year. And obviously, they did that without having a chance to practice in Martinsville. They don't get a chance to practice for it right here. And it's not going to spell good things for Hamlin. And I think it will be interesting to see, like, if he does bad, where does that open up for someone trying to get that last spot into the championship 4? So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm going to stick with playoff drivers too, but mine, unfortunately, I think it's going to be the final. You hear is the final coffin and the nail of this guy's chances. There you go for another Jimmie reference for you.
Final coffin and the nail.
But I'm going to go, unfortunately, because I really like this guy, I'm going Kurt Busch. He just always seems to have struggles late in the playoffs, and I think that this year's going to be no different. I think he'll run well at a point, but it seems like he always has troubles in this last race before the championship, and unfortunately, I think he's going to again. And then I was looking at the chat for a consensus on who's going to suck. Man, this one surprised me. Just because, not because of like performance or anything, but more just because who it is. They picked Chase Elliott as the suck pick, which surprised me. But the chat has spoken. Your consensus pick for who's going to suck is Chase Elliott.
But they're going for a jinx. They're going for a jinx.
But
that's what's going on here.
Eric, to be fair, we picked Denny Hamlin, and we know how his track record is here.
True.
All right, so David, go on first. Dark horse or underdog pick? And while David's giving this pick, leave yours in the comments.
Ooh, a dark horse at Martinsville. You know what? Jeff Gordon got what? Didn't he get his final career win at Martinsville?
I'm sorry, I thought you were just about to say Jeff Gordon.
No. That would be quite a pick, and I'm not really ready to go that dang. But didn't Jeff Gordon? Remind me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong.
He did.
He got his last win at Martinsville? Mm-hmm. I think you got to go with Jimmie Johnson. That's the dark horse.
Dang, you stole mine. Yeah, there was not a lot of fanfare behind it. I mean, we just had him on this show. He's coming off another rough day at Texas, not by his own doing. But I think rules package he's more familiar with. Racetrack he's run very well at in his career. It's a driver's track. Yep, I think this is his last shot. I don't think he wins Phoenix. I don't think there's a chance in hell he wins at Phoenix during the championship. But Martinsville, I think he's got a real shot. I'm not picking him to win, but I think he runs top 5 and is there to make some noise if something crazy happens. I'll go Jimmie.
I'm going to go with Chase Elliott on this one. I think this is his last chance to try to make a swing for it and earn his way into the championship 4. I don't think he can make it on points, but I could see him being a dark horse to get the upset and finally get a win at Martinsville in the Cup Series. He's come close in the past, and this could be his best chance.
I'm going to stick with the trend right now and go Hendrick Motorsports drivers, but I'm not going to go with a playoff driver, or at least someone that's not currently in. I'm going with William Byron. William Byron has run pretty fast here before, just can't put it together. I think that he has the structure around him to give Chad Knaus one final win at Martinsville before he's done. And in case anyone forgot, I didn't. The last time that we raced on November 4th was Jeff Gordon's last win, and or November 1st, I should say, was Jeff Gordon's last win. And I think the 24 will win again. So,
what a pull.
I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm surprised with who I'm seeing as a big favorite as the underdog, and that's Bubba Wallace.
Yeah, I saw in there. I mean, some people left a lot of Jimmy's, but Bubba was the big pick in the chat. So we're all picking Chevy drivers.
God, he did run good there in the spring, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. He was like top 10. His pit crew held him back because like every time he get up like 6th, 5th, or 6th, it was like his crew his crew would have a bad one.
Hey, before we move on, Malcolm Rhodes left the super chat. Go ahead and look at that one.
Let me see. Oh, it just popped up. 499 guys. That was.
I mean, Jared.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you kind of cut out on our end, but go ahead and read Michael's super chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Michael 499. Thank you, brother. It says, guys, that was one of the greatest moments of my life. Thank you so much. Well, anytime, man. I'm glad that you got to be a part of it with us. Like that's just. It was awesome. It's just watching it was awesome behind the scenes. So, but the chat was like going nuts. I don't know if you saw, but the chat was going nuts. So if you get a chance to go back and watch through this, it'll. I think you'll like looking at what some of the stuff they were putting. But now got one more pick left. And then we're gonna throw in a little thing at the end of the picks. But one pick left. Who is gonna win this race? Not win. Win this race. David, lead us off, man.
I think you got to go with Chase. I think he's in a win and get in situation. Thank you, Mr. Dirtbike. I don't know if you guys heard that, but yeah, I think it's Chase Elliott. I think the Hendrick cars are going to be strong, and I think he's going to be the strongest. We'll see though.
We definitely heard of Dirtbike too.
Okay.
Yeah, it was on the stream.
I'll go with another guy who needs to win. I'm going to stick with the trend. Martin Truex Jr. showed a lot of speed at Texas. Didn't expect that. But coming into the playoffs, I had Truex as one of the Championship 4 finalists. I thought he'd have a slightly better run at Kansas and would be in a little bit better points position than he is in now. But Martinsville was the big reason I had him moving on past this round. I thought he had a very good chance of winning. He won there early in the year. So I'll go Truex for my win pick.
Allow the record to show I picked him to suck and Eric's picking him to win. So
one of us is gonna.
It all checks out.
One of us is in trouble.
Well, he's not alone because I'm also picking Martin Truex Jr. to win.
Back up
at Martinsville.
Ooh.
Podcast crew sticking together.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I feel like Jimmie in IndyCar next year.
I'm gonna completely secede from all of this and go with somebody that I know I'm not gonna have a very popular reception to in the chat with it, but. Does anyone else remember that November 1st race at Martinsville in 2015? What major moment happened?
How could we forget?
What major moment happened, Eric?
I really wanted to make a joke. Like if I could remember who said, "Gentlemen, start your engines," I would have pulled that reference out on you. But no, Logano had that race pretty much locked up until the old Yellow Devil got to him.
Yes,
I have no other nicknames.
I want to ask you guys, especially picking Truex, who won the damn war?
Oh,
that is a good reference. Good job.
That's a more recent reference. It should have gone with that one.
Well, it was Joey Logano. And I think
the
Joey
chat's gonna love
Logano is going to win this race, spoil a bunch of playoff drivers' hopes and dreams, probably Martin Truex Jr. because the universe has to curse Truex fans with that. And it's going to be amazing watching on Twitter when everyone's freaking out about it. And Logano, or if we want to go really fun with this one, Logano will be the reason that Chase Elliott doesn't make the Final Four because he'll probably move him out of the way for the win. See, I got to dig at all of you guys on that one. But I'm going Joey, man.
Eric, that's just who Jared is. He loves to incite chaos.
I'm an instigator.
I think the croissants have gone to his head.
Yeah.
I mean, Kamikaze's video will be worth the price of admission, so I mean, that's what I'm excited for if he knocks Truex out.
But yep, that's my pick. And then I want to throw this in right at the end. Let me see. I have my pick here, but I want to get your guys the same order championship 4 pick real quick. I'm not going to ask the chat because I don't feel like putting that together.
I realized something we forgot the lightning round, so I want to go ahead and put this out there now. During the race today, they said everyone who actually came out and watched the rest of the Texas race today, Texas Motor Speedway said that they're all going to get pit passes, and then NASCAR did something better and said that they will give all the people who was at the race today hot passes to the All-Star race next year, which indicates NASCAR seems to have indications of doing hot passes again next year, at least by the All-Star race. Could mean it could mean it doesn't start until the summer of next year. Might happen sooner. We'll see what they do. But that's right now. That seems to be their plan, at least.
Well, I can tell you this, Danny B. I was just at a race in Florida. Florida is pretty damn open right now, and I imagine, assuming that the trend continues, that we're going to be in for a pretty normal-looking Daytona 500.
Well, I also want to tell all the, there's maybe like 500 people at the race, say, all of you who may have hot passes for Texas next year, go watch my video from 2019. I did a whole video of what the hot pass experience is like at Texas Motor Speedway. So I might give you some ideas of what you can expect.
Look at that plug.
Yeah, that was smooth. Thank you, Eddie Gossage, for that plug. That was, or I guess NASCAR did, whoever it was.
You're taking.
Thank you, Mr. NASCAR.
You're taking away from my art of great segues into something, but good job with that one. But really quick, final 4 picks. Who do we got? Well, I'm just gonna put 22 across the board for all of us. I do copy these down so I can go back to reference in case I want to talk crap like I did.
I don't think the 22 will make it. I think they're gonna have 4 different winners.
Well,
I mean, we could have a situation where they're adding like extra drivers in, like Richmond that one year.
Yeah,
you never know.
It's the 18 and the championship 4 because he won today.
Okay, but real quick, so you guys have 2 spots left. So I'm picking the 22, the 4, the 11, and the 2. I think it's going to stay the same. So David, you have the 22, obviously, and the 9, and then the Danny and Eric, you guys have the 19. So who is the other championship 4 drivers? David, start off, and then we'll go the same order as picks.
Harvick and Hamlin. Pretty easy.
I'll go Harvick, but I'll stick with my picks earlier. I think Hamlin maybe does collapse if Truex gets the win. I think it's Harvick and Keselowski join Truex and Hamlin, or Truex and let me start with Logano, Truex, Harvick, and Keselowski.
Logano, Truex, Harvick, Keselowski. Typical Denny Hamlin luck.
So we all have the 22 and the 4 for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That went smoother than I thought it would. That's it. That's all we got. I guess we can talk about the next 2 weeks. That's all we got left, unless there's a rain delay that postpones the finale a week.
Don't you put that evil on us, Ricky Bobby.
Actually, I'm just curious. I'm going to go ahead and look. Let's go ahead and just look up the forecast for Martinsville, Virginia for the time being. Just for pure research here.
Saturday night told me that Texas was going to be 70 and sunny, so I don't know what happened.
Be happy they ain't racing there right now. There's currently a tropical storm warning issued for Martinsville, Virginia. So that's,
oh, no.
NASCAR is coming to town.
Actually, Saturday and Sunday look good. Only a 10% chance of rain on those days. It's going to be cold, but only a 10% chance.
It's too high.
Killed.
But that's just a 10% chance of rain. I said nothing about mist that the radar can't catch.
More like a 10% chance of racing, honestly.
Well, real quick, thank you. 45M Mini Stock New Zealand. I think it's in New Zealand dollars, $5. His pick is 22-11-9. Ooh, very, very out there.
Well, I bet he's a Scott McLaughlin fan.
Maybe. But I'm looking. I looked before the podcast, and everyone was like, "Come on, for winner pick for this week, you have to pick the Mist." It was out front more than anyone. But yeah, that's about it. I think. I mean, we got some stuff for next week. Well, we know where we're going to be next week, hopefully, unless we have to change the day. But
where are we going to be next week?
Oh well, I'll say that in a second. David, where can people find you, man? Where can they find you on social media?
You can find me. Oh, you can find me everywhere. You search David Land, Land, like the ground. It's pretty simple. I think it's 9 letters, if I can remember my own name. Big purple logo. If you want hot takes on racing, I'm kind of the place to be. We wrestle some Jimmies. It's always a good time. Yeah.
Are you on Reddit?
No, not officially. I do have a burner account I troll people on sometimes, but that's about it. They don't know that. They don't know that.
That's all right.
I never said that.
Allegedly.
Who doesn't have a burner at this point?
You have to in 2020.
Well, really quick, we got 2 more episodes left this year. Can't really spoil any of the guests yet. Still working on some of that. But next week, we're going to be the final time this year. Thank you, Irvin Alvarado, for the $5. Says next time, break out Jim Cantori for any weather phenomena like the Mist 500. Yeah, maybe. But next week, we're going to be, for the final time this year, on Danny B's channel. I believe that's November 4th. Nothing significant could be going on next week. So watch the podcast. So, yeah, we'll be on Danny's channel. And then November 11th, after the finale at Phoenix, let's hope it happens, because you never know, it could mist in Phoenix. Look at 2015. We'll be on Eric's channel for the finale. Can't really spoil yet who any of the guests would or wouldn't be. We'll let you guys know.
Partially because we literally do not know.
Yeah.
We have some big plans, but I mean,
we might send out some invitations. We don't know who will come.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually telling the truth. We have some plans, but we don't actually know who it is because there's just no way to know who we might get for that last show. But we got big plans for the finale.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you everybody for watching. We almost got to 750 tonight. That was pretty damn cool. But for the 532 of you watching, I guess you get a special treat. I got the Dale call, new and improved, glued back together. Except the flames just popped out. Works either way. Cover your ears.
Goodness. What kind of glue?
Gorilla. All right. I'm just gonna say it awkwardly
like
and
Gorilla.
I wonder. Gorilla. Really quick. How about this?
Can you do both at the same time?
Well,
Oh my goodness!
You're gonna get. Oh, you're gonna
Stick
get
the croissant in the Dale call.
I'm muting all of you.
What?
That's a horrible visual.
Oh no.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here now.